Okay, good evening. I'd like to call to order a regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Dothan Central School District for today, Monday, November 16th, 2020. Due to abundance of caution and with regard to the spread of COVID-19, in accordance with Governor Cuomo's March 12th Executive Order, number 202.1, tonight's meeting is being held in the District Administration Building and live streamed through Zoom and YouTube. Start the meeting off with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of meditation. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Next on the agenda is the President's Report. Want to recap and thank our building leaders last meeting for their update. It was very informational. Tonight we'll have the directors reporting via Zoom on their progress for the first 6 weeks. And Superintendent Connor will give us an update on COVID-related information during his report. Thank you. And the superintendent search is ongoing. Applications are coming in. Strategic is pleased with the way the progress is going, and we look for further updates from them. Next on the agenda is legislative update. Martha Bogart.
I don't really have too much legislative information this evening. There doesn't seem to be a lot going on right now up in Albany. I did attend the OXPA meeting. It was a virtual meeting, and it was on cybersecurity risk management. Brett Cauther's, who is Vice President and Director of the Risk Management for NYSER, the New York State Insurance Reciprocal, did a very fine presentation, and I was hoping to get his notes from Karen. And as soon as I get them, I'll send them on to you, because I felt there was quite a lot of valuable information. He stressed that now that students and teachers and really all of us are working on these devices in one way or another, we are really relying on our internet providers to provide the security. And he discussed the importance of maybe taking a need-to-know approach. In other words, as few people, only the people that really need to know a certain thing, maybe it should be given to them. He felt that an important thing to remember is the Wi-Fi and how secure it is. And some are more so than others, and obviously different students have different Wi-Fi providers. And he stressed data protection, and I felt he was very comprehensive, warning that the hackers are really out there. And as soon as I get his PowerPoint, I will send it on to you, because I think it was quite a valuable evening. And then at the end of the meeting, the president asked us if we could mention to the board for you to think about, is there any issue that that our board might like to propose in the form of legislation for next year's meeting, NISBA meeting. Possible legislative things to go on the platform. And that's it.
Thank you, Martha. Any questions for Martha? Next on the agenda is the Superintendents Report. Mr. Cox.
Thank you, President Pucci. Good evening, everyone. And I want to start by talking a little bit about our COVID-19 coverages in our buildings. Goshen, like many schools in the area, are finding that when we have a number of cases, both faculty and students, that it becomes near impossible to find enough substitutes to cover our classrooms. Since we went through this last week, I've had several meetings with our CSEA and also our GTA, and we're exploring a number of ways, putting together groups or teams of people, and moving forward in the event that we're faced with this again, why we will have a pool of people that will be able to cover classes while our teachers are teaching remotely from home. At least the kids could be there. And we will continue to move forward with that. I'm optimistic that we can put that together and it'll work for us. Once again, that situation we dealt with last week, we were dealing with probably a total K-12 of close to 80 people being out for a number of reasons. Some were quarantined, some required accommodations, others with districts around us who are closed, or buildings, why teachers had to be home with their kids. But moving forward, we will definitely do the very best we can to continue some kind of instruction for our kids who come to school, who can go to class, and at least we'll have an adult in the room to supervise them while our teachers at home are teaching remotely. So we'll keep you informed on that. We do have our directors. We have a few of them online tonight who are going to provide an update on how the first month, or 5 or 6 weeks, well, we're a good 6 weeks into it now, has gone. So let's see, who do we have? Do we have anybody on yet?
Yeah, Karen Wells, Brian.
Let's start with, how about if we start with Karen Wells? Good evening, Karen. Thank you for joining us.
Hello there. Everybody was just frozen for a minute, so I'm not sure if it's working.
You are live.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So I just wanted to cover a few things that we have been going through here down at the bus garage since the beginning of school. We have done several things to try to protect everyone the best we can. We have our bus counts that we're constantly looking at to make sure that we're not overloaded. We are trying to run at 50% capacity. So we may be able to add a few children if they're from the same household. So we've been looking at that and riding with that. Drivers and monitors have been taking attendance for all of the runs so that we can comply with contact tracing. We purchased a product called Aseptic Plus, which is a very safe disinfectant. We're using that on all of our buses. Our drivers have spray bottles that they have with them. So in between runs, they can spray down the high touch areas. We also have purchased electrostatic sprayers that we use at the end of each day. We have a team that goes out and sprays the buses to make sure that we can keep them as clean as we possibly can. Our CTEC transportation, it has been one of the most challenging portions because their schedule is always changing. It doesn't stay the same like ours is A days and B days. They have group 1 and group 2, and it's not always the same each week. So we're doing the best we can with scheduling those students so that we can provide transportation for all the students that are in need. Other than that, it's just been a little bit challenging the last couple of weeks with having a few cases throughout the district. We also have had a few bus drivers that were quarantined as well. So that kind of puts things a little bit tighter, but we're still managing the best we can.
Okay, Kate, any questions for Karen at this time? Hey, thank you for joining us, Karen. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy evening. I'd like to move to Al from Food Service. Al, are you with us?
No, Martha, Martha, the question?
Roger, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay,
Good evening, and thank you for having us here. School lunch is up and running and rolling. We're doing a lot of different things, serving in classrooms, running through halls. My staff have learned more of the buildings than they've ever seen, some of them for 25 years. So it's been totally new for them, and they're been wonderful. They are stepping up to the challenges and getting it done. We would like more. Our numbers are nowhere near what they were in the past. We're serving about half the lunches we did last October, but they're moving up. We're moving up from September to October, but you know, our expenses are up also. We're buying supplies and things we've never used, and the supply of those things is being requested by everyone. So there's links in the chain that are just broken, and we can't always get what we need. So there's challenges there. There's challenges with state ed, with getting reimbursements. We haven't been paid for any meal we've served this year. And in the past, when September was done, before the middle of October, we had our money. So that's been a frustration we're dealing with as things go on. But mostly, we're kind of proud to give the students that little bit of comfort or a little bit of normality in their school day, even if it is in the classroom. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Are we still serving free lunches for everybody?
Oh, absolutely. Right through till June 30th.
All the way through the whole school year?
Yep.
Okay, so the calendar, but all the way through the school year. Okay.
Next, I'm going to call on Jim Sterrett. I believe John Redeker is going to be part of this discussion as well. So Jim Sterrett, are you with us?
I'm here. Hello.
Jim, and welcome.
Thank you. Get that right out of there. So in regard to the state of the district's technology, I would say it is currently overall strong. Our network infrastructure is providing connectivity and functionality that we need, and the students and the teachers and the community members have overcome some initial obstacles while still dealing with daily challenges, making our hybrid learning model relatively, if not more than that, successful. So overall, I'd say we're doing a good job from the technology side. One major component to that is the attitude I've found, the attitude of the teachers, the faculty, the staff, the students, and the community. We were looking at the technical support help desk, which kind of goes hand in hand with the attitude, which in September, I would describe the attitude as panicked and frustrated. October, we regained some calm and we regained our professionality. And then in November, there's actually people finding a comfort level with the new tools, or not with the new, but with the tools that they have available to them. And they're learning how to work with them and using them to the best of their ability to meet their needs. Regarding the technical support help desk in the community, 237 requests for tech support we received in September. In October, we received 16. November, we received 9. So again, there's a comfort level, a confidence that's being built over the time that we're in this. Everybody's getting used to this, the quote unquote new normal, and we're stepping up to the challenges that we face. Again, every day we face the challenges that, you know, throughout the world, we're facing our own little challenges, and right here in Goshen, and we're handling it relatively well. The staff, of course, is stretched as thin as can be, but we're all making it work and setting our priorities and making sure that we keep everything connecting as well as we can. The classrooms in the beginning of the year, or prior to the beginning of the year, were all equipped, the classrooms throughout the district, with webcams, Bluetooth headsets. Multiple monitors became, upon request, installation. And all the classroom devices, the desktop PC, the Chrome device, the laptops, have web streaming capability, offering teachers several options for their remote learning classes. We've also purchased quite a few new devices to support our current situation, our remote learning, hybrid learning situation, which included 100 laptops purchased for staff use to be used in remote locations when they can't be in the district. And also, since April, we've purchased 920 Chromebooks. We've received 500 in the summer, and then we are still waiting on a delivery of 420 with higher processing power to try to alleviate any of the performance issues that we were experiencing earlier this year. Our district bandwidth as a whole is doing very well. We have a guaranteed 500 megabits with bursts up to 1 gig allowed, and our daily average on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday is approximately 550 megabits of usage throughout the day, and on Wednesday it drops to 350 megabits. So overall, like I said, our connectivity, our functionality of our network is doing very well. Oh, and we've also been providing hotspots to students and their families who have a need for internet access and don't have the means to get it themselves. We provide T-Mobile hotspots to those families to be sure that they can get the internet access that they need. And then with everybody online in whatever location they happen to be, we have started, or we have been implementing a tool called Classlink, which is the dashboard, a launch pad, so to speak, that we can put all the necessary applications for all the classes throughout the district right there at the fingertips of the students and the teachers, and it just helps maintain a control for the kids, for the teachers. And actually, I believe John Rediker is in the room with you. He can speak very well to Classlink and the tools that we're using as far as applications to help the students and teachers with this learning environment. John? Is he there?
Yes, I'm here. Thanks, guys. A lot of feedback here from all the mics in the room, but Classlink has been great. It's an asset so that our parents and families and students especially don't need to learn their passwords or have to remember a million things because of all the different software applications that we're using. And that's really been incredible. It's been a learning curve for us. A lot of credit goes to Kendra Parchinsky, who's a teaching assistant at GIS, who's done a lot of work with Classlink with me over the summer. We couldn't have been here without her. It's been so successful because of that. She's awesome, and that's been great. Classlink also has an app environment, so parents that can't necessarily get into if they're on the go, if they're doing the soccer practice and whatever else. Classlink app does work very well. So on mobile devices, you can get into all your applications and sync it through as well, or iPads and that kind of stuff if you're not using the school devices. Of course, the school devices are always the best. One of the things that we're seeing as a big issue for the tech issues that people are having is that they're not logging into Chrome correctly. But we did put a bunch of information on the yellow banner on our website. It has a whole bunch of stuff for parents, including incredible resources about how to check if you have a fast enough internet connection. We can't troubleshoot that for you, but there's some good tips there. And that's been helpful for a lot of people. And so Classlink has been a really good, it's a gift for people. It also helps us stay in compliance with Ed Law 2D, which is about student privacy and data compliance, which is really significant this year since the law changed. It's always been important to us, but the law has changed. So we needed to be more compliant. And the teachers are embracing the Wednesday professional development opportunities that they're having. At the high school, Principal Martin and I rolled out together what we call a Google Boot Camp for teachers to really get in there and understand some things that are happening. So they're working through that, as well as other trainings that we're scheduling from vendors that I'm doing that other folks are working on in the district. So that's really valuable. And the collaboration piece is key. If you go around this district, some of it is tech related, so I'm involved with that. Some of it's not. But what teachers are doing when they have an opportunity to get together on Wednesdays and work together in their grade levels or their teams or their departments, whatever it might look like in the different buildings, the amount of collaboration that our teachers are doing is out of this world. So they're working so hard, and that's amazing. The work has not gotten easier, but what has gotten better for them is that their comfort level with all of the new things has gotten better. So at least some of that anxiety is off or starting to lessen as they start finding a groove. The work is certainly challenging every day, especially teaching to a computer as well as teaching in person, as I'm trying to do in this room to a computer and to you guys. So it is challenging for sure. They're rising to it. We need to be, as we talk about social emotional learning, and I know Dr. O'Brien's here tonight as well. Definitely our teachers are a part that we need to talk about as well as the amount of work that they're putting in. But so otherwise, the technology piece, we feel really supported right now, like Jim said, with the hardware and the infrastructure. And I think we're starting to really support each other very well and hit that groove of comfort with the tools that we have. In fact, teachers are starting to ask questions about like what's next as far as innovation or next steps for deeper learning, deeper opportunities. And that's exciting. So that's really where we can get to do some great things. And at some point, post pandemic, we'll see what lessons we learned, and we're keeping track of all that stuff as we go. And it's been a great learning curve so far. So we're over a big hump of that. We're hitting the groove, which is great.
Thank you. Question?
At the beginning of the school year, has everything come in? We have everything we need?
I can't hear you, Jason.
Do we have everything we need that maybe we ordered at the beginning of the year, like Bluetooth and cameras and headsets and everything like that?
I'm sorry, I missed that. Is this directed to me? I didn't hear that whole thing.
Yeah, sure, you can answer it, or Jason can answer it.
Oh, okay.
We have the inventory that we need, that we ordered at the beginning of the year, because I know we had some things that maybe were in short supply, because everybody was ordering them around the country. Obviously, the Bluetooth, the cameras, things like that. Do we have everything now?
They're still slow to come. We have gotten most of our essential needs. Laptops and Chromebooks are still a hot commodity, and I think the supply was so deeply exhausted in August and September that the manufacturing just hasn't quite caught up yet. It's kind of like the Lysol wipes. You still just can't find them. So we do have some timeline for that. Some of the outstanding orders for laptops and Chromebooks, our vendors are telling us December. One small order of laptops, we were told February. Sometimes they come in sooner than that, but yeah, so there is still, the demand so far outweighed the supply that we haven't quite rebounded from that yet. Overall, though, we are well set with equipment and tools in all the classrooms. I don't think there's any debilitating need that we can't overcome right now.
So I think the key point is to mention that we have seen the requests for tech services really drop, as was mentioned earlier, which is a big indicator for us as far as what we've been able to rectify on our end and also troubleshoot at home. So really what Jim's referring to my knowledge, is, of course, the 420 plus more powerful Chromebooks. We're waiting for those deliveries, but I think we're making do with what we have for the time being until we're able to kind of reorganize, if you will, collect and reorganize, redistribute. The webcams are out, the tripods are out. We still have tripods to give out if need be. The laptops that were purchased for faculty and staff members that might be in need, we distributed those. There are, a good amount left if need be. If they're not needed by faculty and staff, we have plans to reallocate to a classroom if necessary. So we're actually, in my opinion, in pretty good shape equipment-wise, and certainly, for networking and broadcasting. John, I don't know if you want to chime in, if you're comfortable with that, or Jim, if there's anything else to add. But think we've covered it.
Can I go slightly off topic or?
Okay. Thank you, and I'd like to go back to the COVID-19 coverage again, and just to say that you heard a pretty good update from our technology department tonight, both Jim and John, and also Jason. Well, moving forward, we know that in the event that we find ourselves where students are home remote, the expectation is staff will report unless they have accommodations or unless they're quarantined. Expect that all our staff will report and teach from their classrooms. And also in the event that why some teachers are quarantined rather than all students be out for a particular area, why we will have coverage. We've worked that out. So I think we've made some real good progress. You can see, as I stated earlier, that there are districts around us that are struggling with this as I speak. Their high schools and middle schools are closed until Thanksgiving. And it seems to be a trend that most of us have experienced. But I think for both situations, teachers on quarantine, kids, we want them to come to school. We believe that's a good thing, and we want them in their classrooms. We understand, though, just based on my conversation with our 4 building principals earlier tonight before the board meeting, why we know that there's a lot of parents, a lot of families, a lot of students that are very apprehensive about coming back. Just, I believe it's a fair thing, but we will continue to run as safe and as thorough as possible, and we want to keep our kids in school as much as possible. So,
Well, I'm being weird. That was my question. Oh. The question was, are we staff ready to pivot if need be from the state? If they tell us we got to teach remotely, the expectation was they would come in.
right.
Okay.
Unless we're given a directive that the buildings are closed and the numbers exceed the number you're supposed to have in a building, why, yeah, the expectation will be that we expect teachers to come in and teach from their classroom, unless, once again, they're either quarantined or have accommodations, and there are a number of accommodations as to why people can't teach or can't come in. So, with all that, yeah, you're right, Jason. We plan to pivot and have our teachers in teaching right from the classrooms.
And plan C would be if they can't go to the building, they're ready to teach from home.
Yeah,
Synchronous?
and that's a good thing. I need to remind everyone that we're not where we were back in March and April. We've come leap years. You've heard from our technology department. I know that does not help parents who are trying to work and what happens with childcare and supervision. But where our technology program was, where we were as a district in March and April, we're nowhere near that. We are far ahead of that now. So
Would that be a combination of synchronous and asynchronous? Would that be synchronous? How are we?
So I think, again, you know, it kind of goes back to the conversations that we had in July and August as we prepared for implementation in September. A lot of it is based on what is age appropriate, you know, what is developmentally appropriate, especially when it comes to screen time. But we do want as much synchronous live learning as possible. But of course, we always say, especially with our K-5 population, that the teachers need the latitude to do what they need to do to, you know, to make it work and also be mindful of what is appropriate for the children. So at that point, you could expect, you know, whatever appropriate amount of asynchronous learning that we agree upon by grade level. But our goal is and has been since September to provide as much live synchronous learning as possible in all scenarios.
okay, I know I have Mr. O'Brien here with us tonight to provide us with an athletic update. Matt, are you there?
I'm here, Mr. Connor. I apologize. It's a little bit difficult to hear you all, but good evening to all of you, and I hope that you are well. It's been a while since we spoke, so I am appreciative of a few minutes here to give you an update regarding athletics. Back in October, on October 12th, we were able, with New York State's approval, to start off-season workouts. These are workouts that are open to all of our students. And it was important to do that for our kids, to get them back to a sense of normalcy, as Al alluded to before. But also to be frank about the fact that we have a lot of our athletes who need to get back into shape, so to speak, and who haven't had too much physical activity over the quarantine. So the off-season workouts are continuing. We resume those today, and everything is going smoothly. It's important to note there are several safety precautions and guidelines in place as we continue to move forward with our off-season workouts. Those guidelines and protocols include several different things: temperature checks, screening questions, disinfecting and wiping down of equipment, wearing masks and social distancing to the greatest extent possible. The workouts only take place outside. There are no indoor workouts at this time. And the list really goes on and on. So off-season workouts are going well, and that continues. We are sort of at a point in the road here where we have to get ready for a November 30th winter sports season, but only for the sports that New York State considers to be low and moderate risk. Those sports for us here in Goshen include indoor track, skiing, bowling, and swimming and diving. And so registration is open for those sports right now. They've been open for quite some time, but they continue to be open. And we are prepared to start with those 4 sports on November 30th. The big question is obviously what happens to what the New York State considers to be high-risk sports. And I'm talking about, of course, basketball, wrestling, and cheerleading for us here in Goshen. And the answer is really still to be determined. We do not have an official start date, unfortunately, yet for those 3 sports, but we are anxiously awaiting New York State's word and some more definitive information about when we can start those. As I mentioned, registration is open, and there will be several strict and up-to-date guidelines and safety protocols that we follow as we get set for a November 30th start to our winter season. Speaking of safety guidelines, Section 9, there's a meeting tomorrow in which we will discuss the latest up-to-date safety guidelines and protocols, and those safety guidelines will be followed for us here in Goshen as soon as they become available to us. But it will be much of the same of what we're already doing in terms of temperature checks, screening questions, mask wearing to the greatest extent practical, and so forth and so on.
Any questions for Dr. O'Brien? I think we're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to provide everyone with an update too, that I had a conversation with all our building principals this evening. I know I touched on that earlier, and pleased to say that other than reminding everyone that the safety protocols and things to do and to try and do to maintain social distancing and hand washing and everything, everyone said it was a very busy day, but a good day. And, obviously, there are a lot of people with a lot of apprehension. We understand that. But we're back, and we hope to stay in as long as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. Just wanted to go back to my report. We did receive some Board of Ed emails through the website and some different correspondence. One was a request for Goffstown Avenue dedication of the library for Dorothy Zaworski. The board will review that request and discuss it. Also, they got an email correspondence for, I think we did talk about this, maybe we didn't tonight, but the process of going to school and the testing and checking the testing.
Oh, the COVID-19 attestation?
Yeah. Can you address that or somebody address that?
I
how we're checking that? I know it's different color every day, but.
Yeah. So currently we have a program that we purchased through BOCES, which is the COVID-19 attestation that you all see with the QR codes at the doors. So everyone's required to do that. Students, visitors, faculty, and staff alike. And that does report into our administrators. There's a system where essentially the email is reported back. One of the things that we're working diligently on is to find a way to better organize a report that can be exported that allows us to quickly see who has and has not filled it out. More importantly, who has not filled it out. And once again, that's for visitors, students, faculty, parents, everyone. It's very difficult right now, short of sitting side by side with the list that is populated by email to a faculty list that we're aware of, and cross-reference to see who has and has not filled it out. With that being said, we had a meeting last week with Vistas, which is another vendor that we're very familiar with, mostly through data tracking and test scoring and so on. Used them in the past. There's a gentleman, Mr. Bouchard, great guy. We know him very well. They have a program that is much like a current attestation program. However, this allows us to more uniquely program the system so that it reports back just as quickly as what we have, but again, in a more organized way, targeting those who have and have not, so we can take the list and understand who may be in the building who has not filled it out, thus generating a response to get it done. That's, let's say in the works, if you will. We've had a discussion here at central office. Our building level administrators are on board, so it's a matter of funding and processing at this point. Great product. There are many out there, but we're looking for the most thorough and the most simple to use. So ease of use is key, and I do think that will help us. The other piece is that, as you enter the buildings, which many of you have already, you've got your sign-in, your basic sign-in, at which point your temperature is taken as well. So, if you get through the building, front doors with the attestation, technically you're supposed to be able to prove that you filled it out, get your temperature checked, sign the log, so that everything is set for contact tracing. As I had said, I know our principals are doing the best that they can right now, but we're aware that we could probably use a little work, which is why we're moving toward the Vistas program.
Can it be, how does it come? Not everybody has a phone, obviously, it's going to come to school, right? That can show it. So it goes to an email. When it's filled out, it goes to a database, each building, or kind of the district? Yeah, so Maureen has worked very hard to set up the program as far as labeling administrators, not just the building administrator. For instance, you could be an administrator if we labeled you one, attached to a building, and the report goes into you, and it's the report of who has filled it out. What we're trying to do is cross-reference to see who has and has not. This is where the Vistas form comes in. You don't necessarily need a mobile device to use the QR code. You can do it from home. Like for instance, children that we know are going to report every morning at 9 o'clock, their parents can do that the morning of prior to leaving for the bus or prior to jumping in the car from a desktop device or a tablet. If you arrive at the building as a visitor, for instance, like FedEx delivery, if they need to enter the building, they can scan it right there with the QR code, fill it out, and they have it to show. So there are, two ways to ensure that it's filled out. Ideally, it would be part of attendance, right? Either entering the building and checking in, or their homeroom or their teacher. That's probably going to be the most effective way, but is that what we're aiming to do? That they have a list through email or whatever you want to do it. So the check is at the beginning of the day, because if we're checking in the middle of the day or late in the day, it's kind of.
Yeah, the checks should be done, of course, upon entry, prior to entry, which is why it's hard to say. I guess you for lack of a better phrase, you kind of live and learn a little. So we've learned a little, or maybe a lot, about the current program. This will give us the knowns. and then they can be disseminated to the classroom so that like immediately you're aware who has not filled it out. And if that student does still have to get through the front doors and sit in front of you, we can immediately escort them into, whatever zone they need to get to be sure that everything is as it should be, ensuring the safety of all.
Okay. Interesting, right? And then just backtracking on subs again, I know you had a meeting internally. Is there anything externally we can do? There's a lot of kids home from school. There's a lot of, should we be trying to fill the back gaps with some type of program or advertising or social media? I mean, people are either home or college kids are home or adult kids have moved back home. So I don't know, there may be a population out there that maybe we can try to backfill. I don't know if that's something that we want to, who knows how many we might need on a certain day, right? It's going to be a crazy winter.
Recently, we did put out some internal postings and also postings on OLAS, for substitutes in all areas, including, substitute drivers, substitute food services, substitute teachers, substitute aides, all the above in preparation. So I know that Dr. Voloshin is collecting those as they come in, and that's what we're prepping for. I'll be sure to talk to him tomorrow morning to make sure that that posting, especially for substitute teachers, is still out there, as we now have a lot of students coming home, late November about to hit.
I would say I'm not on social media, but I think that'd probably be a pretty good way to get the out.
We can work with Christina to do that as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Scott.
You're welcome, sir.
Next on the agenda.
Next on the agenda is the Assistant Superintendent for Business Report, Louise Lynch.
Thank you and good evening to everyone. Just wanted to have a couple of comments that tie into one of my topics here. I want to thank the directors and the administrators because not only have they been working hard, but they have proved to be patient and adaptable and resourceful with all of these challenges. And there's certainly no shortage of challenges this year. One of the things that I have on my agenda this evening is the potential loss of transportation aid. I know that you're probably seeing pieces of information about this in your emails from NYSBA and other sources of information. It's not definitive yet, but it continues to be a year where we have a number of fiscal challenges. And I will keep you as apprised of that as I can. But the short blurb of what it means is what the state is saying is any expenditures that we paid for transportation when we weren't actually transporting students directly will not yield aid. And that is a big piece of our revenue sources. So I'll continue to keep you apprised. And I do believe that the state is working with the federal government. Again, you keep hearing me repeat the same thing. So hopefully there'll be some financial relief there. And as we heard Al speak earlier, this is another unprecedented financial issue. The food service fund, we haven't received any revenue this year. We can't claim the revenue yet. We're not doing the volume we normally will. And each year we hear our auditors speak about the fact that the food service fund can't run into the deficit. So we're continuing to monitor that as closely as we can. But our options to solve that problem are pretty limited. But we are staying on top of that, and I'll continue to keep you informed. And the only other item I have on my report here this evening is the tax collector's report. It's the time of year where we complete our tax collection process and we turn over the unpaid taxes to the county. And one anomaly this year as compared to prior years, and I don't know why, it could be the post office, it could be the banking, the way we've changed it a little bit this year, is we are still receiving some checks when the deadline has passed. And what our records have done is we've already counted those as unpaid. So there will be some back and forth. And you may hear about this, and I would encourage if you have any questions or anything, to just refer those to me, and I will get to the bottom of them on an individual basis. But other than that, that's all been fairly seamless. I don't know if you have any questions for me.
Any questions for Louise?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Instruction, personnel, and technology. Mr. Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Pucci. Good evening, everyone. A couple of quick updates for you in addition to the Ed Vistas COVID attestation for foreign exploration. We've got a lot of things going on here, all great things. So the first, we're very happy that we've got Otis for Educators up and running as far as our professional development, and through the hard work of Jonathan Redeker and many others here, we've been able to implement the parent side of Otis for Educators. So truly it's Otis for Parents. We secured 3,500 licenses, so we imagine that we should be able to get, at least one per household here in Goshen. And that will allow parents to log in and actually go through some of the professional development, specifically for things like Google Classroom, a few other programs on there. Of course, it's all, asynchronous. You can do it when you can do it, at your own pace, on your own time. Learn a little bit about some of the programs that we have here. I know Mr. Redeker has taken some time to go into the program and actually look through what is offered, take some of them off that really just they're not applicable to what we're doing here, and to be sure that we have what we need through Otis. On our webpage, if you click on the professional development link, the Otis link for parents, there is a tutorial video that explains exactly how to set up your own parent account and to be able to log into Otis to start that. And again, we're very pleased with that. It was something that we really wanted to implement and spoke about that as far back as last May. Along with that, our administrative team, our faculty and staff members, again, John Redeker worked diligently to set up a parent academy. Christina Gore has been wonderful in advertising that for us. And again, it's just a way for us to give the community an opportunity to learn about the tools that we utilize here during our remote and hybrid learning experiences. So with Parent Academy, we have a calendar built out on the same page where you would find the video tutorial. We have a calendar built out that tells you, what webinars are available. The webinars are in real time, so you can actually interact and ask questions as necessary. On the calendar, you'll see it by topic. So for instance, today was our first webinar series on Classlink. Mr. Redeker actually ran that. There were 2 sessions today. We have other members of our faculty and staff. For instance, we have Mrs. Baker coming up, about to run one on Turnitin, which helps us to kind of crack down on plagiarism if, in fact, it does exist here in Goshen. So, as I had said, we do have faculty, staff members, administrators that will be a part of this. And I think it's very unique, and we're really proud of that because it's real time. It's our faculty and staff members dedicated to providing professional development, and more so live tutorials for our families out there. So I think it's quite unique, and we're happy with that. Again, today was the first, and we're scheduled all the way out right now through December 9th. So if you take a look at that calendar, it's well populated, a lot of tools on there, and we will continue to populate that as things pop up for us. I also want to mention that I had a meeting today with Dr. O'Brien. We talked about our social emotional committee. So we do have a meeting set up for Wednesday, November 18th. This meeting and the agenda that's been designed is really for us to just catch up on some status reports for each building, see how we're doing with social emotional learning and mental health of our faculty, staff, and students, of course. And also we're looking for our curriculum update because we've been working diligently to secure a K-12 curriculum that we can implement to the tune of, somewhere between 25 and 35 lessons that we can implement throughout the year. We've looked at Choose Love, Rock, Digi, Quaver, some others. Of course, everything has been properly vetted. So we're just going to share our thoughts and ideas as we get down to the nitty-gritty of selecting the curriculum that we will implement. Also the implementation plan of who will be involved in sharing these lessons, or rather implementing these lessons. So all of this will happen on Wednesday, November 18th. And of course, we've got some other meetings set up in the future. Right now, as it stands, our goal is to start our implementation of the true curriculum, not to discount what we've done through IFSL and the mental health first aid trainings and all the other things that we put in place. But our goal is to implement the curriculum as we get into the month of January, the beginning of that second semester. So that's where we're at right now. Just a quick note on one of the curricula that we've looked at, Choose Love. It really does a nice job of implementing some of the essential life skills. And if you look at their website, it's very clear their formula is courage plus gratitude and forgiveness and compassion in action. And if you really think about what we're trying to do here, it really fits the bill of what we try to provide daily and what we're looking for from our faculty, staff, students, and families. So we'll continue to explore and hopefully make that solid decision and move forward. And finally, I want to just take an opportunity to thank all of our administrators, for last year bringing in Jim Wright, but more importantly, moving forward with Jim Wright as we focus on our RTI during a very difficult time. So we're still focused on response to intervention in each of our buildings. So on Friday, November 20th, we will be having a virtual meeting with Jim Wright, essentially with all of our building principals and directors, to talk about the state of RTI in each building, what our needs are, what our desires are, and to take on, or rather look for suggestions on how to move forward in a very positive way, of course, during COVID and thereafter. So again, I just want to thank, all of our building principals and directors for their part in this and their continued efforts to have a high quality RTI program here in Goshen. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Scott. Question?
Can I just ask quickly for you to elaborate just a little bit, just because I'm a mom and I know a little bit about what's going on with the students with social emotional, with the staff, and even going as high up as our administrators, teachers, and staff. I'm sorry. Just exactly, can you just give me an example? I know that you mentioned the Choose Love program, but how does that exactly help the teachers and staff?
Sure. So remember, this is curriculum that we can implement for our students. So it's the lessons on social emotional learning that we're trying to implement in the classrooms. And we have our thoughts and ideas on how to hit our students as they move through. On behalf of the faculty and staff, we focused in the very beginning with IFSL to give them some of the skills and the recognition of some of the mental health issues that children may encounter, that others may encounter. And also we have Lynn Abrams, who's been trained in the mental health first aid. So at this point, you have your secondary, your high school level that has gone through the training with Lynn Abrams. And now, as a part of our social emotional committee meeting on Wednesday, we're going to talk about moving down now into C.J. Hooker Middle School to train their teachers in the mental health first aid. So simultaneously, we have a couple of things going on, with kind of taking care of yourself, but also the mental health first aid and recognizing signs and symptoms of all things mental health. And then we've got the curriculum and implementation of these lessons so that children are getting what they need as far as the recognition, the coping skills, and so on. So we really are hitting it for every angle. And we've done what I think is gone through a very diligent process. And I know that Dr. O'Brien, and especially Lynn Abrams, have worked really hard to be a part of this organization, but also you have your school psychologists, school social workers, and school counselors in all of our buildings as a part of this committee, in addition to other administrators. So you really have a strong team to look at both sides of this, from the adult side and the children's side. So I really do feel like we're doing a nice job of hitting it from every angle. So as a parent, I guess you would take comfort in knowing that the adults are trained in the recognition pieces, and we're also bringing in curriculum to help our children to go through. With mental health first aid, our adults are also able right now to help our children with implementing some of the coping skills and others as we move forward, especially our clinicians.
Yeah, no, I was talking more about, because I can see some of the things that, because I was on the social committee, and I can see some of the things that we're doing with the students, but I'm just curious, like the teachers, do they have resources? Do they have, outlets and what they need to do to help themselves, not just the students.
Yeah, so again, a lot of what we're doing with the mental health first aid and IFSO is also about taking care of yourself and taking care of each other. And then, on a separate side from a administrator employee standpoint, like from the personnel side, we also have the employee assistance program. So we do have other things built in to assist if necessary, depending on the level of assistance needed. But throughout the buildings, we're really doing a good job. And I'm sure Dr. O'Brien would agree, he's seeing it firsthand, especially at the high school. I think we're doing a good job of taking care of each other, checking in on each other, just being there to support each other. A lot of positive energy, a lot of positive thoughts, but more so a lot of talking about what we're seeing, not just acting as though it doesn't exist. And I think that's the key to everything.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Any motions? Judy? Tom? Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the consent agenda as presented. All in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
We have no old business, so we'll go to new business. 10.1, the motion to accept 2020-2021 tax collector report. Allison and Martha. Be resolved, the Board of Education of the Goshen Central School District accepts the 2020-2021 report of the tax collector as presented, and having determined that the tax collector has accounted for the full amount of the tax warrant, directs that the list of the delinquent tax items, with the addition of penalty, be certified to the office of the county treasurer and or other tax enforcement office. All there? Opposed? 10.2, the motion for approval of minutes of the November 2nd, 2020 regular board meeting. Allison and Tom. Be resolved on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the minutes for the November 2nd, 2020 regular board meeting. All fair?
Aye.
Opposed? Ten point three. In a motion to approve agreement with Westchester Institute for Human Development for Assistive Technology. Judy and Jeremy. Be resolved on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the agreement between the district and the Westchester Institute for Human Development to provide comprehensive assistive technology evaluation in one or more of the following disciplines: speech language pathologist and or occupational therapist, effective for the 2020-2021 school year as follows. One discipline, $1,380. Two disciplines, $1,890. Travel cost per school visit, $25 under 20 miles, $50 over 20 miles. Training fees, $225 an hour or $560 for 3 contracted hours. Be it further resolved, the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent of schools to execute the agreement. All there?
Aye.
Aye.
10.4, approve correction of assessment due to small claims assessment review. Sharon? Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education accepts the assessment corrections as specified by the Orange County Supreme and County Courts as summarized, and to direct the tax collector to take the necessary actions in accordance with small claims assessment review, or SCAR, for Patrick O'Malley, SBL 6-1-91, in the amount of $419.25. Carolyn Emery, section block 9-1-18.2, in the amount of $1,672.40. Deborah Bassani, section block 18-2-22, in the amount of $844.16. Martin DeGrandi, section block 5-1-54.11, in the amount of $557.47. John and Ann Fellenzer, section block 18-2-26.2, in the amount of $2,305.53. Rosemary Colshe, section block 9-1-17, in the amount of $796.38. Ashley Hughes, section block 15-1-71.1, in the amount of $3,046.16. Michelle Isery, section block 127-5-2, in the amount of $724.70. Joseph Lanza, section block 112-16-6, in the amount of $2,018.83. Muhammad Malik, section block 4-1-484, in the amount of $384.25. Anthony Yusi, section block 18-2-26.42, in the amount of $915.84. Francisco Obregon, section block 4-1-88, in the amount of $557.46. Ajit Patel, section block 13-2-8, in the amount of $1,118.92. Christian Roman Rodriguez, section block 4-1-64.1, in the amount of $666.98. Samsi Moktra, section block 10-2-6, in the amount of $1,337.92. Donald Williams, section block 13-3-25, in the amount of $1,317.22. Joseph Castle II, section block 2-5-4.2.2, in the amount of $217.94. $271.94. Thank you. I'll get it back. A1001 for the tax year 2020-21. All in favor?
Right.
Opposed? Next on agenda is board member issues.
Hey guys, it's Mike. Sorry I can't be there. I just wanted to follow up on Martha's comment about the presentation she saw on security. At the hospital and healthcare in general has been dealing with a lot of threats. There were 400 attacks on hospitals in the United States at the end of October. We were luckily, with our controls in place, we did not get hit, but a number of them did. And I think it's important, a couple of the points she made about access, which basically is called least privilege, which only allows certain people to have access to critical files, as well as access to the network. So I think that's something, we need to look at as a district. The other piece is the wireless for students. I know I've talked about this and I've been kind of championing that, but I think it's important that we have a completely separate network for anybody that's a guest or a student that is not directly connected to our network in any way, shape, or form, be it a secure tunnel that goes through our network or something like that. But and the other piece is that that wasn't mentioned is education. So I think it's important that we do phishing campaigns, sending emails to teachers, administrators, to see if they'll click on a link, because we're a soft target. A hospital, healthcare, school districts, obviously Monroe and other districts, we're considered soft targets because we don't have the infrastructure in place. We don't have the people in place to, fight off these threats. So, it's not something that we can tackle today, but I think we need to start thinking about this. And it's very important. And I'm excited to see the presentation that Martha has from this gentleman that gave that presentation.
Mike, I will email Karen again tomorrow and see if I can get a copy of it. And yes, that's exactly the type of thing he was saying about the phishing and sending emails to people within the company just to check that they wouldn't open up it. It was really very amazing to me, all the things that can happen. And when you say 400 attempts, wow.
Well, what happened was threat actors sent out emails to 400 different healthcare institutions at once to try to see who clicked. And we know of that they told us was about 20 of them actually got hit. So, you know, and then I'm sure there's more that, you know, due to law and, you know, confidentiality didn't want to say that they were, but those will eventually come out. But it's, yeah, it's real. And, you know, unfortunately we're soft targets. So we just have to kind of stay vigilant. That's all. And I'm just, you know, the other thing is I'd like to see what BOCES is doing to kind of protect us, because I know we rely on them for a lot of security. So might be something we, you know, might want to audit them in some way or have them give us some assurances that we are really being protected.
Mike, would you like me to ask if perhaps someone from BOCES could do a virtual presentation on what they're doing? What you're saying is what things they do to protect the districts.
Yeah, if they're willing to do that and share that information, I would love to see that.
Okay, I'll see what I can do about setting it up. I'm sure they would love to present to us that information.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Need a motion to close the meeting? Allison? Tom? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank
Happy
you.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving. Everybody stay safe. We'll see you soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.